All right. Thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is Donetta McDowell, and I will be doing a short presentation on the 5 steps to getting started with MCIS. If you're not familiar with MCIS, this gives you a little bit of an overview of what you can expect. So we will just go ahead and get started. So the agenda today is going to be a quick MCIS overview, and then we'll go through the 5 steps to getting started. So step 1, activate and renew your site account. Step 2, creating staff accounts. Step 3, creating groups. Step 4, creating portfolios. And step 5, engage users. All right, so let's start with the MCIS overview. What is MCIS? MCIS is an online informational and planning resource to assist Montanans in fulfilling their education and/or career goals. MCIS aims to instill realistic, confidence, and constructively guide users' attitudes and actions regarding education, career, and life. MCIS's mission statement is to promote access to and success in education and career training beyond high school. There are 3 different site types to MCIS. So the first one is going to be the junior site, which is 5th through 8th grade, and it's indicated by the lime green navigation bar at the top. That's how you can tell if your students are in the correct place when you're working with them. The junior version is written at a lower reading level. It doesn't have more detailed career and school content and tools. Its focus is on self-exploration, career exploration, and the idea of going to school after high school. And there are no hyperlinks outside of MCIS in the junior version. So the high school version, you can tell you're in the high school version by the red navigation bar at the top. And the college adult version, you can tell you're in there by the greenish blue color of the navigation bar on that. Those 2 sites are very similar. Sorry, I can't talk. Those 2 sites are very similar, except for the checklists and the pictures and scrolling announcements. Also, student portfolios can be transferred. So when your 8th graders go into high school, you can transfer those portfolios from the junior version to the high school version. And then once they graduate from high school, they can be transferred to the college that the student is going to. And the students can actually transfer their own portfolios, or you can transfer them. We can help you with that. It's just a way of those students being able to continue to use their portfolio as they grow. So it grows with the user and keeps all of their stored information. It comes in really handy for resume creator, especially if they note their accomplishments and references in the system as they happen. So it just builds throughout their life, basically. So there are also different account types in MCIS. There's a user account, which is front-end access to individual portfolios, which would be the student's portfolio. There's a staff account, which is back-end access to user portfolios in groups, or users' portfolio in groups. There's an admin account, which is basically the same as a staff account, but with additional capabilities. There are parent accounts, which can be linked to the user or the user or student accounts, and that's front-end access. And then there are visitor accounts, which are temporary accounts that can be created by the individual user. Okay, so this is what the high school version of the system looks like. And again, you can tell by the red navigation bar up there at the top. So with assessments, students can learn more about themselves. So there are several assessments that we'll be looking at or we'll be looking at those shortly. And assessments will help the students learn who they are. Okay. And then they can start to think about where they're going by exploring different occupations that fit their interests. So once they do assessments, it will help them to figure out what occupations they're interested in, and then they can continue on and research occupations to figure out where they're going. So how do they get there? They get there from the education, employment, and their portfolio. That will help them get to where they need to go after high school. So there are lots of different assessments inside of MCIS, and here are just a few of those. So there's the interest profiler and career cluster inventory. Those are two different assessments. Then there's reality check. Reality check is actually the most popular thing inside of MCIS. It is a budgeting type of activity where they would calculate how much it costs for living, expenses and food and education, and then it matches that up with occupations that fit the lifestyle that they choose. Then there's the skills inventory and work importance locator. And then there's also a combined report of assessments, and a student could take at least 2 of these assessments, and then they could get a combined report of those assessments that would show them a better view of the different occupations available based on those assessments. All right. The occupations tab has detailed information on over 550 occupations. The occupation sort and filters allow them to go through and answer some questions, and then it narrows down the occupation based on their answers. And then there's also military occupations and information on self-employment under the occupations tab. On the education tab, there's detailed information on over 4,000 schools, and that's national schools as well as Montana schools. We have a school sort feature where, just like occupation sort, they can go through and answer some questions and it will sort colleges to narrow down that information. There's financial aid sort, works the same kind of way. And then they get a list of scholarships available, and it gives really detailed information on what they need to do and a link to the scholarship information on whoever's putting that scholarship out there on their webpage. There's information on paying for school, and there's course planner information. So the course planner is where they can keep track of their classes and schedule courses for each year. And the application tracker, that will track their application process for college. Everything that a student saves goes into their portfolio. So the great thing about that is that they can get back to anything they were looking at easily. Checklists is just another way that students can navigate MCIS, and they can be customized by the school. So we can help you do that if you're interested in setting up a customized checklist. And by doing a checklist, it just allows you to have the different grades. So like you can see on the screen there, they would go to the checklist, and then you would have either your customized checklist or you would have the state default checklist. So we have state default checklists, which are 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And it's just like I said, an easy way for them to get through the system without having to know, go here, click on this, do this. You just set up a checklist and they go out here to it, click on view, and it tells them the different steps that they need to complete their checklist. So like I said, if you're interested in that, let us know. I'm going to be putting our contact information up at the end so you can contact any of us and we can help you with any of these things that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so the personal learning plan, that is a little another way of navigating. So they will go through and do activities in these different sections. So there's know myself, research options, evaluate options, set goals, and make plans for each grade level. They would go through and do specific activities for that. And then there's also stored files and links. All of their other information is also saved in there. So step one, we're going to be talking about activating and renewing your site account each year. So this year we started out by sending all the MCIS admins the link to the form in an email. And so you may or may not have gotten that. There's usually one administrator for the school's MCIS account. I touched on that a little bit earlier. So I'm going to show you where you can find the form in case you didn't get that email. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to careers.mt.gov. And I have heard a few people, I'm not quite sure which browser, I think it's Chrome, may have an issue with the careers.mt.gov shortcut. So you might have to clear your cookies or things like that to get that link to work. If it goes straight to the mt.gov page, then you're in the wrong area. So another way to get there is the long link, which is lmi.mt.gov/career. And then you're going to scroll down and click on the MCIS resources section. Then you're going to see a little blue icon, and it's small. It's located directly under the graphic banner at the top of that page. So we're going to be working on that to make that more prominent on that page so you don't miss it. But it is right there. You just click on the little blue MCIS site order form button, and that will bring the form up. So fill out the online form and click submit. And this is what the form looks like. It's not too many questions. You just go through that and click submit, and that comes to us. And then what happens next? So we will process your form within 2 to 3 days, and you'll receive an email with your username and password for your admin account if you don't already have that. This process will be completed every year by mid-September. And in saying that, we will be doing this every year just to make sure we have the most updated information in the system. So one thing to note about that, if you are leaving your school, please please save that information for the next person that comes along so that they're able to get into your MCIS account, or just let us know that you're going to be leaving so that we can then that next year contact the school and find out who your replacement would be. That would be super helpful for us. Okay. So this is the Montana Career Lab webpage. And so that those links that I showed you take you here. And you can see over on the right-hand side, the MCIS login section. So what you're going to do to log in is just type in your username and password and click login. And just a note, we're going to be talking about logging in with Clever, and you can see right underneath the username and password that there is a login with Clever. So just keep that in mind. So once you log in, you're going to be at the dashboard or the site administration side of the system. And up there on the top again is red, so you know you're in the high school. And also up there on the very, very top side over there on the right-hand side, it's kind of cut off in my graphic, but you'll see where it says Z Training High School. So this is my training page, but that should have the name of your school up there. And if it doesn't, then you are in the wrong place. And that also is the same for your students. If you're working with your high school students and they have a red or that bluish green site and it says something different up there at the upper right-hand corner, then you know that they're not logged into the site. And we're going to talk more about creating student portfolios. This is another reason why you can create portfolios, and that will alleviate that problem of your students being in the wrong place. Okay, so that was a little off topic, but getting back to your admin side of the system. So just another thing to point out is the quick links over here on the right-hand side. So in a few minutes, we're also going to be talking about tools for counselors and teachers and curriculum that's inside of MCIS. And this little quick links area over there is just like the most commonly used things in your admin side of the system. So it's just quick ways of getting to the same place, if that makes sense. Okay. So now we're going to walk through how to create staff accounts. And what is a staff account? A staff account can be other teachers at your school or other counselors at your school. Like I said, there's usually only one main admin person at the school. A staff account could view portfolios and reports. They can send messages to users and students. They cannot make other staff accounts. So the only person at the school that can make staff accounts is the main admin person at the school. We can also help create staff accounts. So if you're not comfortable going through this process, let us know and we will help you do it. So it's important to use staff accounts instead of sharing the admin password, because one person can change that password or something like that, and then it locks the other person out. So it's just a good idea to have separate logins for everybody at the school that's using the system with their students. And this way that person can get in and do their own thing and not worry about messing anybody else's stuff up, if that makes sense. All right. So here is the process on creating a new staff account. So you're going to go to other accounts, and then you're going to click on add a new staff account. And then once you do that, this pops up and you're going to type in a username for them and a password, which is a temporary password. Then once they log in for the first time, they will change their password. So also you need to put in their first and last name. You can put in an email address. And if you do, then you will be able to check this little box that says automated email, and it will automatically send that person their username and password. And then you click add and you're done. Easy as that. All right. So now we're going to talk about creating groups. So what is a group? A group makes it easier to find and manage portfolios. You can group students by graduation year, class, academic interest, pretty much anything. You can name a group anything. Students don't know that they're in groups, and students can belong to multiple groups. You must create a group before batch uploading portfolios into the system. And we're going to talk about that in step 4 on uploading portfolios. So to add a new group, we are going to the Portfolios and Groups tab, and then we're going to go over and click on Add a New Group. Now, just a quick tip on this one. If you're new to a school, you might not know if that last person that was the admin created a group. So what I would do in that instance is go down where it says view or edit group membership, just below the add a new group. You see that there, you would click on that and it's going to show you what groups are there if there are any. Okay, and then that will tell you if you need to go through this process of adding new groups. All right, so add a new group, click on that, and then this is going to come up and you're simply going to type in a name for that group. So like I said, that you can name it anything, and then you're going to click add. So then that adds a group. Easy peasy. All right, so step 4 is creating those user portfolios. So there's some different ways of doing that. So why do we even need to log in? Why do students have to have a portfolio? Well, that answer is easy. They have a portfolio so that they can save all of their assessment results, their occupations, resume information, scholarships they're interested in, all of those different things get saved to their portfolio. So if they didn't have a login, they wouldn't be able to save all that information. And so it'd be kind of akin to, the dog ate my homework kind of thing. Well, I told you to go out and do this assessment, but I can't see it. Where is it? So that's why they need a portfolio. All right. So different ways they can get a portfolio. So there are a few different ways. The first two are my preferred ways of creating a portfolio. The third is my least favorite way, and I'm going to explain the reasons why. So the very first way is for the admin or staff account to create those portfolios by doing this upload. And so that's what I'm going to show you after this. Again, if you're not comfortable with it, we can do it for you. It saves you time. Why wouldn't you have somebody else do it for you, right? So then the second way is the Clever Sync. So I was, shortly we're going to talk about Clever, and a lot of schools have Clever. If you don't, you can get it and it's free. The third and my least favorite way is the individuals log in to the school site account. So you can get a username and password for your school that they would use one time, and they would log in and create their own portfolio. Now, here is why I told you earlier, one reason why I didn't like it. Here's some more for you to consider. So the students are bound to forget their login. And so when they do that, they will be apt to go in with your school's generic login and create a new one. The next thing you know, that student has 5 different accounts that then need to be merged into one account. So that's more work for you. The second reason is that it will take you literally a whole class period for them to create their username and password. I am not kidding you. And none of them will be consistent. So if you're uploading the student's portfolio, you're going to create a username and password for them, and you're going to give them that username and password, and that's what they use. Okay, so we'll get into that a little bit, but those are just some reasons why I prefer to create those portfolios. And it may seem crazy when I walk you through it. It may seem like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Like I said, We will help you with it. And once you get it done, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, so here we go. All right, so creating portfolios. We are going to go to the Portfolios and Groups tab, and right down there at the bottom, it says Upload Portfolios. So it'll bring up this page, and you're going to click on that Excel sheet and open it up. So click on that, open that baby up, and you'll see this Excel sheet. Now, the green fields are mandatory fields. The graduation year is mandatory in Montana. There are multiple states in the CIS consortium, and some do not require it, but Montana does. So don't forget to put in their graduation year as well. Okay, so as I said, green is a required column, also graduation year. So the next thing you're gonna do is figure out a username for your students. So those have to be a unique username specifically to that student. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, so it has, the only requirement is it has to have 6 characters. Some schools, it has to have at least 6 characters, sorry. Some schools will use the student's first and last name for their username, or first initial last name if it's 6 characters. It could be last name underscore the first 2 characters of your school to make it even more unique. And the reason it has to be a unique username is because if there's a John Smith at some other school and they used John Smith as a username, and you have a John Smith at your school, you're trying to use that username, it's not going to let you do that. So it has to be unique. Okay. So then you're going to enter passwords for the students. Now, the requirements are a little different, a little bit more for passwords, right? So it has to be anywhere from 8 to 10 characters. It has to have at least 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, and 1 number. So an example of a password could be the number 4 student with a capital S, something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. I had a school the other day that used their mascot and the last 2 of that student's graduation year, something like that. You could do that as well. Okay, and then the groups. So here is where the magic happens of groups, and this is another bonus for this uploading your portfolios. So you're going to take the exact name of that group, and then you're going to put it in for the students. So if you have your spreadsheet of all your students and say, I just did this with a school and she did advisor groups. So she put all of her students in their individual advisor groups. And she sent me the spreadsheet of their first and last name and their advisor groups that she had already created. And I just went out and I did all this for her. She gave me the protocol she wanted to use for the username and password. And it was as simple as just copying and pasting that stuff in, copying it down if it's the same, you know. If you're familiar with Excel, you kind of know how that works. So another plus of doing this, the other plus, so now you're going to have this Excel spreadsheet that has all of your students' username and password. So if they forget, you can say, oh, hey, let me check the master username and password sheet that I uploaded. And oh yeah, here's what your password is. Plus, if you have a protocol, you can kind of remember what that protocol was and say, here's your protocol, enter that, and you'll get into the system. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into the actual uploading of that spreadsheet. So you're going to go down to where it says upload portfolios, and you're going to browse out to your saved spreadsheet. So make sure you save it in a place where you can find it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on that little trial run button. So this allows you to go through a trial run without actually doing anything in the system and just making sure that those usernames are unique. Like I said, that is the #1 error that you'll get when you're trying to upload these, is that the username is already in use. So you're going to click on the upload portfolios button, and then it's going to process. So you're going to, if you do get errors, it's going to tell you that you have errors, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Then what you do is you just go back out to your spreadsheet and correct those errors, save it again, then, just repeat the process until you have no errors. And then you're going to remove that trial run. You're going to uncheck the trial run button and upload it for real this time. Okay. If you do have errors, this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to go through the processing stage, and then it's going to say at the end of that processing, it's going to say that it was completed, and nothing's red. So that's good. It means there's no errors. And below you can see there's a status, and it will tell you. So if you have errors, there's going to be an error code in that status column that's going to be red. And up there above that are the status codes. So if you get an error, open up this PDF of the status codes, and it will tell you exactly what they are. If it's confusing, call us and we'll help you. If this seems like too much for you, call us and we'll help you. I cannot stress that enough. We are here for you. Okay. And that is all you do to get those students uploaded. And then you just, like I said, give them their username and password, and they log in and they're good to go. All right, so now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about how they can log in with Clever. So like I said, your school may or may not have Clever. When they first log in, they click on that little Clever button, and then they type in their school name, and then it should take them into Clever. Okay. And Clever has an app gallery, which is super cool. So the great thing about Clever is students remember one login for all of your school's technology, including MCIS. So let's say they have Google Classroom, like up there on the right-hand side, you can see an app for Google Classroom. So this just, Clever keeps all of your technology in one place. So it integrates into existing workflows for students using different types of software at your school. Super slick. Everybody that I know that has gone through the process of Clever rostering is even more amazing. It updates your students nightly, and it moves the student from school to school if they move schools. It adds a new student's portfolio automatically. You don't have to do any of that upload or having the students log in. Clever does it all for you. It's a bit of a process, and we usually talk to whoever's the IT person is at your school to get that set up. But once it's set up, you will love it. I guarantee it. Okay. So Clever is a single sign-on, and it's free for schools. So free. Gotta love free. Schools integrate their student information system once with Clever, and then approve other technologies as needed, just like what we talked about. It streamlines classroom technology use for staff and students, and it increases the time that they spend exploring and learning in MCIS. And if you look over at that graphic, if you don't have Clever, you can fill out a form and submit it. You can contact us, and I can send you an invitation to Clever. And usually I can see who the IT person is if you do have Clever, and send them an invite. So lots of ways that we can get you using Clever. Okay. So 5 steps in review. We talked about activating and renewing your site account. We talked about creating staff accounts, creating groups, creating portfolios. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the tools that we have in your admin side of the system to help you engage your users. So again, log in with the login screen with your username and password. Okay. And so this is where I talked about on that quick links. This is just another way of getting to those components. So help and links. And then we're going to talk about tools for counselors and teachers. So click on that. This is going to come up. This is actually going to come up minimized. So you'll just see site administration and some other things under that. Click on the little arrow next to site administration, and this is going to drop down. Now, this is great because if you forget all these steps, and we're going to send this video out to everybody that was on this webinar, and you'll be able to get it. If you're watching the recording of the webinar and you want a copy of this, let us know and we can send you a copy of the PowerPoint, or we can set up a training with you one-on-one to walk you through these different processes. Okay, so this is great, right? Because there's little quick starts for batch uploading portfolios, creating checklists, creating groups, all those different types of things, okay? And then up there on the upper left-hand side, you can see some other information there. So tutorials, classroom activities, guides and instructional tools, and some other resources that are available to you. Lots of good stuff in there. All right. So then we're going to go back to helps and links, and there's actually lots of built-in curriculum in MCIS. It's going to blow your mind. Okay. So click on curriculum, and it's going to bring you to this. There's lots of different ways of sorting the curriculum. My favorite way is by the subject area. So you can click on that little drop down by subject area, and it's going to say, do you want some curriculum for English or social studies or health and PE or advisory? And you can click on that and click the sort button, and it's going to give you those specific ones. And this is great because if you want to get your teachers involved, what a better way than to say, hey, do you want an easy class for today? Here's some lesson plans built right into this thing. So it helps them get involved with using MCIS in their classrooms, and just gets those students even more involved in learning about careers and college and apprenticeships and everything else there is in MCIS. MCIS is just such an amazing tool. So this is what a lesson plan looks like. So you can see there down, so this one is called attitude adjustment. And who doesn't need an attitude adjustment, right? So at a glance, the students assess their attitudes and set goals to change negative attitudes into positive attitudes. And the time that it takes is 75 minutes across 2 days. Now, a lot of them are not going to be that long. Some of them are long. I'm not going to lie. But then it has preparation. It walks you through the steps. Down below that, there's going to be a materials section. So if there's a PowerPoint, if there's a worksheet, it will be listed there. Scoring guide, it's all in there. So it's great. So be sure to check that out and let your teachers and counselors, other counselors, if you have any at your school, know about that stuff. All right. Lastly, thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar, and I hope you got a lot out of it and learned a lot. So again, I am Dawnetta McDowell, and for now, I am the Eastern region person for you to reach out to if you're in the Eastern region. We have Gabe Alderson, who is the Central region person, and Mary Ellen Earnhardt is the Western region person to reach out to. So there is our contact information. Again, I just cannot stress it, and I know you're probably sick of me hearing it or saying it. You're sick of hearing it. But our job is to make your lives easier and to help your students to learn about career, college, just, uh, you know, how can we help them get to where they need to be? And whatever we can do to help you guys achieve that goal, that's what we're here for. So please reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to help you. You should be hearing from us at some point throughout the year, whether it's about training or um, upcoming webinars. Those can all be found in the MCIS resources section of the Career Lab. We also offer free resource materials, so be sure to check that out. That little MCIS resource area is going to be a great place for you to check out all that stuff. And then there's a section for teachers and counselors on our main Montana Career Lab page. You can click on that and find resources all the way from pre-K to adults in there to use with your students. Some of those we have in-house that you can order. There's an order form right in that area. It's kind of tiny, so you have to kind of look for it. Also, if you're interested in ordering things, you can just let us know and we'll hook you up. So again, thank you so much for being with us today, and we hope to see you or hear from you again soon. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks.